Okay, so in terms of us determining how much time you need to spend on a specific topic, we are going to use a certain time frame to give an idea of how you want to manage your time. So the time frame that we're going to use is a 42-day time frame. So 42 days is roughly 6 weeks. So what I mean is, say you are planning on covering a certain amount of work in 6 weeks time for like a math exam or something like that. So say in 6 weeks you want to finish the entire syllabus, so that you maybe have 2 weeks to be like going through past papers and all that. This is how you basically want to break down those 6 weeks. We're using 6 weeks as an example, right? So here let's lay out 6 weeks. So here we have a 6 weeks layout example, you see. So obviously this is just week 1 all the way to week 6, and obviously this represents a 7-day cycle. Now the idea here is, even though you may want to aim for a scenario where you at least do something every day, you want to remember that not all days are going to have the exact same intensity. What I mean is, you could literally maybe spend 3 hours today on something, but then tomorrow only spend like 30 minutes on it, just so that your brain stays in that vibe. So what I mean here is, if you're going to determine how much time you need to spend on a topic, you need to know exactly how much each topic contributes to your final mark. So we said here we have, let's see how many topics here: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. Well, yeah, we'll look at it as 11 things. So the idea is, these 11 things, you're not going to spend exactly the same amount of time on them for everything. So what I can safely say is, you firstly want to highlight the important ones. So the important ones, as we already have pointed out here, are algebra, number patterns or sequence series, functions and graphs, differential calculus, analytical geometry, trigonometry, and Euclidean. Those are like the first ones that you mainly want to focus on. The rest, they are important, yes, but you're obviously going to spend less time on them. So what I mean is, in terms of you laying out how you're going to use these 6 weeks, right, in terms of you maybe wanting to like cover this entire syllabus, you need to firstly try and get done with the major ones. The major ones are what you want to focus on, and you want to basically alternate. Don't put yourself in a situation where you maybe only do paper 1 and then you finish, and then you do paper 2 and then you finish. It doesn't work like that with math. You want to remember that math is just math. Whether you're dealing with paper 1 or paper 2, you want to remember this, that math is just math. The methods that you use for paper 1 are methods that you can use for paper 2, vice versa. So normally what I would do is, I would maybe go through Euclidean geometry, and then next I would maybe look at something like functions and graphs, and then maybe go through trigonometry, and then go through differential calculus, and then go through analytical geometry, and then maybe go through question 1 questions, alternating, going on and on and on. So in terms of you determining how much time you need to spend on a topic, this is what you need to do. Let's start off with Euclidean geometry. So what we know is that Euclidean geometry is going to contribute 16% to your entire mark. So what you need to remember is that Euclidean geometry needs to take up 16% of these 6 weeks. So obviously these 6 weeks, it's 6 times 7, right, which is 42 days. Now obviously what that means is Euclidean geometry needs to take up 16% of 42 days, of which in your calculator 16% of 42 is just approximately 7 days. There we go. So now you know that, okay, fine, if I'm going to start off with Euclidean geometry needs to be done within the first week. So here you would have Euclidean geo. There we go. Euclidean geometry throughout the first 7 days. So you know that you would have taken into account Euclidean geometry. Now maybe you want to go to a paper 1 topic. So the next paper 1 topic that you would be looking at is something like functions and graphs. And here you know that functions and graphs only contributes 12% of your final mark. So for something like functions and graphs, it's 12% of 42 days, of which in your calculator is just 5 days, you see. So functions, you basically just want to spend 5 days on that. So obviously this just means in the following week, 5 days would be on functions and graphs. There we go. Now you can imagine this is the trend you want to follow for the rest of the topics. You would have done functions and graphs now. So if you move on to something like trigonometry, we know that this is 14% of 42 days, which is equal to approximately 6 days. Of which, as we mentioned, then you'd want to have here, there we go, trig for the next 6 days. Now, the chain basically continues. You want to do the same for the others. So let me quickly do the same for the others, and then we'll move on. So I know here I kind of went from trig to analytical, which is both paper 2 papers, or rather both paper 2 topics, which is roughly okay. So the main reason for I think having to have done this is because with analytical and with trigonometry, you're both basically going to be working with angles and stuff like that. So they basically like mesh up. So doing these back to back is 100% okay. So others that you can easily do back to back, it is something like differential calculus and functions and graphs, if you decide, which will be fine. So here the next topic would probably be differential calculus. There we go. So in terms of you determining how much time you need to spend on a topic, you can basically use this layout as an example. So this could literally mean if you had maybe like just 3 weeks to go over everything, then obviously everything here you just want to chop it in half. If you had for some odd reason 12 weeks, then I mean, be my guest, might as well double everything. But the idea here is this is roughly how you want to proactively work towards achieving a certain mark. You need to know exactly how much time you need to spend on a specific topic so that you don't spend the exact same time on everything and all that. Obviously that's already what you do, which is all good. You can use this as like a mini template and an example. So we are going to move on to the 4th point, which is simulate the exam, yada 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 yada. So you'll meet me in that next clip.